This conference will now be recorded.
So, good morning, one and all. Today, I would like to explain in this presentation about serial communication and bus interface. What is the communication? We know that from our childhood, communication skills required means whatever I am saying, you have to understand and you have to convince. So, exchange of information in a proper way is called as communication skill. So here also exchange of information between transmitter to receiver is called as communication, and this communication will be done in two ways. One is according to bit transmission, bit by bit transmission, or a bulk of bits transmission. So bit by bit transmission is called as serial communication. Means bit by bit, one by one will be transmitted towards receiver side is known as serial communication. At a time, all the bits are transmitted either in terms of 8 bits to 8 bits, 16 bits to 16 bits, 32 bits to 32 bits from transmitter to receiver is called as parallel communication. But what's the drawback of parallel communication? More number of wires are required. But whereas in the case of serial communication, less number of wires are required. Right? Maximum they are taking only 2 or 4 lines in our syllabus interface. That's why here we are having only 2 to 4 lines for data transmission and control signals. Whereas in the case of parallel communication, data lines are required 8 lines if you transmit 8 bits, but 16 lines if you transmit 16 bits. And along with this data lines, we need again control bits. So here to reduce the more number of wires, so we are designing chips very smaller in size. So when we are designing smaller in size, even though as data speed of transmission is a also one of the parameter, but it is a speed of the parameter we are restricting, but we are reducing number of wires. So that's why here we have chosen this topic of serial communication and bus interface with 8051. You can see here serial communication and bus interface unit. And first we will see the fundamentals of this serial communication we have seen already in the second unit, right? So this serial communication is again two types, right? On-board communication and off-board communication. Off-board communication is also called external communication interfaces. Okay, and on-board communication interfaces means right inside of the chip, whatever the bus is available to transmit signals from one place to another place. That is what we call the on-board communication. Okay, so first we will see here at onboard communication. So usually on the motherboard, if you take motherboard, so on the motherboard we will have the RAM slots. Here we have to have 5 RAM slots, heat sinks, processor place, and some of the capacitors for charging and discharging purpose of the signals, and these like this, and CMOS battery like this. But what about these ports here we are seeing? And these are the ports connected by mouse, keyboard, keypad, RS-232 printer, scanners, USB drives, audio ports. Okay, so and this is what we call the where input and output devices can be connected is known as right serial communication ports. So for example, here our keyboard will be connected, here our mouse will be connected. From this point only we are giving data inside of the processor or this motherboard, right? So this is what we call the off board, whereas 8051 is a microcontroller, and some of the chips, ROM chip, RAM chip, all are having inside of the only one single chip. That is what we call the 8051 microcontroller. So then how can you operate those devices inside, and how can you operate some devices from external world? That is what we call the onboard and external communication. So now see here, right, our mobile phone is connected by this interfacing unit, right, and this interfacing unit is again connected by 2 ports. One is for a memory card and one is for the charging of any other computer or somewhere. And here these are some of the connectors. Then what is name of these connectors? Okay, and this is the today's topic. We are all seeing these every day in our lives. Right. So whenever you are designing these communication interfacing units, here we have to follow some standards. We should not design as it is and as we like. So those standards are called as de facto standard and de jure standard. So de facto means a state of affairs that is true in fact, but that is not officially sanctioned. Suppose if you design something, if you invent something, sometimes that has to be taken permission from so and so government or so and so standard organizations. So this de facto based product, then you need not take the permissions, but that should be state of affairs, that should follow some rules and regulations. So de facto standards are standards in actually are adopted widely by an industry and its customers. So de facto standards are brought about in a variety of ways. They can be closed or open, controlled or uncontrolled, owned by a few or by many, available to everyone or only to approved users. Only for some users they can design it because they have some standards, so they can design it, and for everything they need not take the permission. But de jure means it should be obeyed by the law. So we have designed the circuit according to law. So even in a robo movie also we have seen that robo which was designed for the purpose of our military applications, that has to be passed some circuit. But if you design as a design engineer, if you design one robo for your home application, that need not check by the some standard organization. That is what we call the D0 and de facto standards. Okay. So in our syllabus, they are asking serial communication standards and serial data transfer schemes. That's why I'm explaining these two topics. Right. So here, these are the two standards, but serial data transfer schemes, right? And most of the microprocessors are designed for parallel communication. In parallel communication, number of lines required to transfer data depending on the number of bits to be transmitted. So inside the microprocessor based computers or laptop, in olden days, if you see, we have seen the buses, right? And those buses are depending upon number of bits that processor can handle. But what's the drawback of parallel communication? For transmitting data over long distance, those parallel communication is not suitable. In such cases, serial communication is used. Okay. So, and serial communication can be transmitted in three ways: simplex mode, half duplex mode, and a full duplex mode. What is simplex mode? Here you can see the direction of data is only one side. Mainframe computer to monitor only one side. But whereas in the case of half duplex, the direction of data at a time only one way, either x1 to x2 or x2 to x1. Whereas full duplex, we are having a data transmission both the sides at a time. That is what we call the simplex and half duplex and full duplex. Here you can see that full duplex. See here how data will be transmitted in the case of half duplex from computer to computer. Right. These two devices are connected by a cable, for example, through LAN. In half duplex, they can only communicate in only one direction at a time. See here, right? So data can go so from this machine to this machine, this machine to this machine, A to computer B, only one at a time, right? Right. So for example, walkie-talkie, only one can talk. So after talking, they will say over. Then only the person. But in full duplex, here we can see that communication in both directions at the same time. Okay, see here, simultaneous data is transmitting from computer to computer, so has double the bandwidth. So then bandwidth has to be double to transmit from computer to computer. Yes. So two phones, mobile phones or telephones, anything can transmit simultaneously, right? So one-way traffic is called as half duplex, and two-way traffic is called as full duplex. Yes, so that is the example of half duplex and full duplex. And according to data transmitting, right? How data is transmitting bit by bit, or at a time you are transmitting is also called as the data transfer schemes. So here we are having two types of data transfer schemes: asynchronous and synchronous. So what is asynchronous? So asynchronous formats are character oriented. In this type, the bits or characters or data words are sent at constant rate, but characters can come at any rate asynchronously as long as they do not overlap. So here in this asynchronous, simply if I say the data will be converted into either frames or packets. So here the difference between packet and frame is, right, packet means very small in size, frame means very larger in size. So when the data is converted into packet means smaller in size when we are sending our data, then that will be transmitted towards the receiver side at any rate and at any time. But in the case of synchronous, here data can be transmitted only one time at a time. So here first we will see synchronous. So this is the transmitter and this is receiver. Transmitter and receiver will be at a time will be ready to transmit and receive. For example, in cricket also, once the bowler is ready or once the batsman is ready, then bowler starts bowling. Once the bowler is ready, then batsman starts his batting. Like that here also, when transmitter is ready to transmit data, and the receiver also must be ready to receive the whole data at a time. Right? The receiver will not receive any data which is coming from the other device. And transmitter also will not send any data to any receiver except this first receiver it has been received. So then both the transmitters will be synchronized by this clock signal. So both the transmitter and receiver will functioning by only one frequency of operation of the clock. But in the case of synchronous, here the transmitter can transmit data at any time and receiver also can send the data at any time. So for example, if I say our SMS transmission is asynchronous mode of communication, whereas our phone conversation is called asynchronous communication. Both the transmitter and receiver both are at a time they can converse it. Now if I speak something and if you receive something some other time, then it is not called as a synchronization. So that is the example. So here in asynchronous communication, so when we are sending the data, each data is again converted into packets here, and these packets are in terms of 8 bits of ASCII format, because we know that each character, each data is in terms of ASCII format D0 to D7, and each packet can be identified by the receiver by the start and stop bits. You see here the beginning of a character is indicated by start bit, which is always low, right? Start bar. This is used to synchronize the transmitter and receiver. After start bit, the data bits are sent via via least significant bit first followed by one or more stop bits. So stop bits. So between start and stop bits, the data will be transmitted. Next, if we have one more packet, again it will have one start bit and data bits and stop bits. Like that, it will be transmitted number of packets. Whereas in the case of synchronous, right. So here in the asynchronous overhead bits are more, so that can be eliminated by the synchronous communication. But synchronous communication is also have one drawback. Both the transmitter and receivers will have the same time to transmit and receive, but it won't allow any other data. But in the case of asynchronous communication, right, receiver can receive data from different devices, and if one person can send one word or one letter, and if some other person can send some text data, so then in first it will, even though it is receiving the subscriber one data first and only half, and it can receive second person data also, but first person sending data will not transmit at same rate and same route. So that's why here asynchronous communication is more popular than synchronous communication. So one of the external communication is done by the how printers scanners can be connected, externally by using this to your computer or to the 8051 is by using RS-232 cable and USB cable. So RS-232 stands for recommended standard. It is a recent version of standard 25 pin, whereas RS-232 is which is of 22 pins in new personal computers, male D type. Uh, which is of 9 pins. Today we are using not 25 pins or 22 pins, and we are using uh, 9 pins, and its shape is like a D shape. That's what is called as a D type. I'll show you. RS-232 is a standard protocol used for serial communication. And who has standardized this one? Right, EIA. EIA stands for, in America, EIA stands for Electronic Industries Association. Right, this industries association will give some standards how it was designed, whether it is really helpful for the people or not. So what is the distance it can cover? What are the data rates? Everything will be checked by this. So this RS-232 can have, in terms of 50 feet distance, it can cover the wire length, and data rates are 1.492 kbps, approximately 2 kbps speed only. Why if it is more than 50 feet, then noise will be introduced. Okay, so this is the cable, RS-232 cable, which is using in our laboratories also, that you can go to our labs. Okay, so this is what we call the male connector, and this is the shape of D shape. You see here D, right, English letter D shape. That's what is D type. And pin number 9. So here pin number 1 is called as CD. What is CD? Carrier detect. So that you can see here. And pin number 1 is carrier detect. Pin number 2 is receive data. Pin number 3 is transmit data. Pin number 4 is DTR, data terminal ready. Pin number 5 is ground signal. Pin number 6 is data set ready. Pin number 7 is request to send. Pin number 8 is clear to send. And pin number 9 is ring indicator. Okay, and these are the pins of the RS-232 cable, every pin. So here also we are having 9 pins and 9 pins. So each pin is having its own functionality when you connect your computer CPU. Okay, and one side connected to computer and one side connected to either scanner or printer. Okay, now here what is carrier detect, and these cables sometimes in olden days we have the internet over a telephone or internet detected by using carrier detect. Receive data, whenever you receive data, that data will be received through this pin number 2. Transmit data, so whenever you want to transmit data, that data will be transmitted through pin number 3. So here one way for transmission, one pin for reception. So it is called as the serial communication, right? And DTR, these are the control signals. Data terminal ready, outgoing handshaking signal. GND is ground signal. DSR, data set ready, whether the data set is ready to transmit or receive or not. The request to send. So it will not send the data as it is. First, it will request the device. Shall I send this data or not? Yeah, then it will clear this. This pin will be clear to send the data. Ring indicator means incoming signal from data communication equipment. Then it will indicate the with some ring. This is female connector. We have the instead of that pins, we have the holes here. That's what is called as the female connector. And this is the connection, and this is the RS-232 here, DTE and DCE, data terminal equipment, data communication equipment. So where is the RS-232 modem, and this lab cable is called as the RS-232. Again, modem to modem wireless communication is established, and now again modem is connected to our laptop, and this is called as the RS-232 cable. Right. So we have seen, and this RS-230 is having 4 specifications: electrical specifications, mechanical specifications, functional specifications, and procedural specifications. So here, what is electrical specifications? Electrical specifications means what are the voltage levels this RS-232 can handle. Okay, and these are the voltage levels. For logic 1, it is plus 12 volts, and for logic 0, it is minus 12 volts, 0 to minus 12 volts. Minus 12 volts 0 is for logic 0, and 0 to plus 12 volts is for logic 1, as we have seen in the diagram. So these are the different voltages. So RS-230 also used as the ground and 5 volts level. Binary 0 works with voltage up to 5 volts to 15 volts is called on or spacing, and for binary 1 works with minus 5 to minus 15 volts. So that's why here we are having off state. So here these are the voltages, and mechanical specifications means what are the pins of RS-232 or DB25 and DB22 like that, and how it is connected, is the wire length usually, and this how this wire is designed like that, that is called as mechanical specifications. And functional specifications means, since RS-30 is considered a complete standard, it defines more than electrical and mechanical characteristics. RS-230 standard also defines the functional of different signals used in the interfaces. So these signals are classified as common signals, data signals, timing and control signals, and these are all called as the functional specifications. Procedural specification. The procedural specification specify the sequence of operation that must be carried out when a DT and DC are connected. That is called as procedure. We should have some procedures how to send the data from DTH, DC, and DC to DT. Right? Assuming a computer is DT is connected to modem DC through RS interface. In order to send data from computer to modem, the following procedure must be followed. Okay. Right. What is that? So here it must have the protocol structure. So this protocol structure is also having start bit, stop bits. It has 2 stop bits and 1 parity bit and 8 data bits. This is called as the RS-230 protocol. 1 start bit, 2 stop bits, and 1 parity bit. And this parity bit helps us to verify the error. Right. And what is handshaking? How a transmitter transmits and the receiver receives data successfully. So the handshaking defines for this reason. Handshaking is the process which is used to transfer the signal from DT to DCE to make the connection before the actual transfer of data. So the messaging between transmitter and receiver can be done by handshaking. There are 3 types of handshaking process named as no handshaking, hardware handshaking, and software handshaking. Right. So in the no handshaking, if there is no handshaking, then DC reads the already received data while DC transmits the next data. Right. All the received data stored in a memory location knows as the receiver's buffer. This buffer can only store 1 bit, so receiver must read the memory buffer before the next bit arrives. But here handshaking of hardware is, it uses specific serial ports RTS, request to send, CTS, clear to send, to control data flow. In the software handshaking, in this process, there are 2 forms, X on and X off. Here X is the transmitter, X on is the part in which it resumes the data transmission. X off is the part in which it pauses the data transmission. Is known as the software handshaking. And so applications of RS-232. So RS-232 serial communication is used in old generation PCs for connecting the peripheral devices like mouse, printers, modem, etc. So nowadays RS-232 is replaced by advanced USB. So it is also used in PLC machines, CNC machines, and servo controllers because it's far cheaper. It is still used by some microcontroller boards, receipt printers, point of sale systems like that. Only few areas at RS-232 still it is using, but USB is replaced, RS-232 is replaced by advanced USB. But what's the drawback of USB and why still the RS-232 is using? Right, because USB size is very less and the bus size is also very less, and it more than 1 inch size USB buses are available. right? Or 1 feet to 1 meter USB buses are available, whereas RS-232 can cover up to 50 feet without any noise introduction. That's why we are using this. So here we are having so many applications of RS-232 cable, mouse, modems, server controls, and so on. And these are all different RS-232 cables which we are using in the industry. Right. So now one more is USB. USB's introduction is not required because today, as the electronics and communication engineer, or as the mobile phone user, as the laptop user, today we are all using one of the interfacing unit, means which can connect mobile phone to uh, laptop, or mobile phone to some other memory cards and all through this buses only. You can see here, this is the USB, and this is the mini USB, and this is the micro USB. These are the different forms they are available, and this was designed by the uh, Hewlett Packard, Intel Corporation, Microsoft Corporation, Renaissance Electronics Corporation, and 750 has the USPIF has over 750 member companies worldwide, and they are using this USB standard buses. Okay, and Universe Bus is a set of connectivity specifications developed in collaboration with industry leaders, originally released in 1995 at just 12 Mbps speed, whereas RS-232 is having only 2 kbps to 20 kbps speed, but the starting USB speed has been increased to 12 Mbps. That was the least speed of USB. And today we are having up to 1 Gbps speed of USBs. Today, with the run rate of 4 billion USB products shipped into the growing market every year, USB operates at up to 10 Gbps today and is found in over 15 billion personal computers, consumer electronics, and mobile devices. This is the small history of introduction of USB. Right. A universal serial bus is a common interface that enables communication between devices and a host controller, such as a personal computer. It connects multiple devices such as, see here, right, digital cameras, mouse, keyboard, printer, scanner, media devices, external hard drives, and flash drive. Today's devices have been through this. USB is also connected to audio device, human interfaces, webcams, printers, mass storage devices, and all are used to connect this USB, and the different speeds of operation. So first version of USB is called USB 1.1. It has 12 Mbps. USB 2.0, it has 480 Mbps. USB 3.0, it has 5 Gbps. USB 3.1, it has 10 Gbps. And these are the different speeds of operation. Today we are using USB 3.1 version. What is difference between this USB 1.2 and 2.0 compared to this USB 3? Is this USB 3.0 has the onboard power connection or power management system. It means here, if you see the device, it has 4 lines. Okay, it has 4 lines. Out of 4 lines, first line and fourth line for power supply, and second pin and third pin for data pins. So D minus D plus means, D plus means reception, D minus means transmission. Okay, and here uh, this is the invention 1998 USB 1.1. After 2 years 2.0 introduced, after 8 years 3.0, and after 7 years USB 3.1 with 10 Gbps speed has been uh, 10 Gbps speed. Okay, and these are all different standards, USB connectors, standard, mini, and micro sizes. And here they are giving what is the maximum size of USB cables, right? Minimum size and maximum size they are giving, and these are all different USBs today we are seeing, and these are the different USB cables, and these are available in two formats. Usually we will see these two type of USB cables, and what are the those cables is, if you see this flat type of USB is called type A. If you see this type, this is called type B, this is type B, and this is type B, and this is type mini size, and here we'll see one by one later. And now here first pin indicates VCC and fourth pin indicates out. So when you connect your mobile phone through this USB cable, then it is charging because of this first pin and fourth pin only. And if you use that cable, same cable for if you connect the computer, the second pin and third pin for data transmission and reception. So it has two operations. At a time it is getting charging, and for data transmission, data reception also it is using. So that's why it is called serial communication. One pin for transmission and one pin for reception. That's why it is called as the serial communication. And some places, some USBs will have 5 pins, and the fifth pin is called as ground pin. And some of the chips will have the fifth pin, that is for ID of the. And okay, suppose USB Type E. The most popular type of USB is called this one or this one. This is the most popular one. So here you can see that these are the most popular, and these are the type B. You will see in few cases, and this is type C, right? Most popular type of USB stand is type B, which you can see at one end of almost every USB cable nowadays. You will most likely to find type A ports in most devices like desktop computers, gaming consoles, and media players. USB Type B connectors are at the other end of a typical USB cable that plugs into a peripheral device such as a smartphone, printer, or hard drives. Right here we are using only for desktop computers, gaming consoles, and media players. But here smartphones, printers, and hard drives, Type B is using, and USB Type C. USB Type C made the headlines of Fetch periodical around the world when the latest version of Apple's 12-inch MacBook was launched. It is the first notebook to incorporate Type C in its design, so it has a specific its own cable system. So today, this Redmi phones also designing their power supply and this USB cables for power charging. This type of cables only. Right. So that's where most of the company comparisons and USB Type A, Type C is supposed to be the uh, wonderkind of USB technology. It can theoretically replace a whole host of connector cables, including printer cables, laptop charging, digital cameras, HDMI cables, smartphone charging cables, gaming consoles, scanner, and fax cables. They are all using such kind of uh, uh, USBs. So next one is a mini USB. The mini USB was introduced in 2005 and was one of the first miniature USB form to be released on the market. So see here, compared to this one, right, the normal USB size is almost high compared to this one. And compared to this one, the size is almost less. See here, the width of this cable is more and this width of this cable is less. But here width and length both are high compared to these two. That's why they are called as the mini and micro, right? And it has a 5-pin connector. At least at its outside, the mini USB was used for a variety of devices, including MP3 players, digital cameras, and mobile phones, including BlackBerry, Motorola, and HTC devices. They are using this type of power supply cables. And micro USB, by contrast, was released 2 years later and improved on both the functionality and convention of the mini USB. For starters, the micro USB also has 5 pins. It also has 5 pins, but its fifth pin, ID pin, functions as both A and B type of connector, providing broader value. The mini USB's ID pin, by contrast, provide little to no functions. That fifth pin is having no function, that is connected to ground. So the micro USB is also smaller at 6.85 by 1.85 mm and is shaped differently with a rounded top and a flat bottom. It is more durable, 10,000 disconnect cycles, and provide faster transfer rates up to 480 megabits per second. And it is using digital cameras, GPS devices, and video game controllers. These USB cables are looking like same almost, until and unless as a technical student, if you don't observe how they are differently designed, that we cannot recognize. Okay, but every cable is having its own functionality of their size and transmission size. Okay, so this is the end of this serial communication, external serial communication, RS-232 and USB. Okay, and the next presentation we will see about onboard communication or inside.
This conference will now be recorded.